results have continued to disappoint this tournament. He has won it in 4 in matches. He's taken a lot of sets, though. That's why he's 5-7 in games. But I have the wrong stats for him. He's actually 2-3. My bad. But he's still, down towards the bottom of the rankings, as you mentioned before. The Jin Air players struggling, ironically, as it is their tournament, the Jin Air sponsored SSL.
Yeah.
But you really have to think that Dark is the massive favorite here. This has always historically been his best matchup, the ZVT. And, Maru, I feel like he demands respect, right, from his fans most of the time. Commands, I should say, not demands. He commands respect and is considered to be one of the best Terrans in the world still. But how long can people say that if he's going to struggle in his matches here in the SSL? Dark, one of the toughest opponents is going to have to face yet. And this is not going to be an easy one. I'm hoping he surprises us and pops out. He had some really good control in his last series.
Always has. I think he always will, even with his wrist problems.
I mean, we got really hyped about his last play because it felt like that was the Maru we were looking for all tournament long. So maybe tonight he continues that streak. Maybe he's back in full form. I'm really hoping so. Here are our maps: Daybreak, Abyssal, and Newkirk Precinct. So 3 2-player maps back to back. Newkirk, a map that Dark has already struggled against Innovation on in this matchup, so I'd probably like to avoid that one if possible and take this series 2-0.
Yeah, you can see that's coming in here. So guys, let's jump into game number 1 on Daybreak.
Maru, 13주. 자, 방영호.
Here we go, fly better fly, Jin Air. Down in the bottom left, our Jin Air player. It is Maru, the Terran in the blue.
His opponent, to the top right in purple, it is Dark, former SKT Zerg. After the end of Pro League and the end of Kespa sponsorship in StarCraft 2, Dark seemed to stay the same, almost like he didn't need the team house. He had the best practice partners in the world, and he had the best well-funded team in Korean esports throughout the entire ages of its existence. Back in the first season of Pro League 2, leading up to now, the defending champions of LCK, SKT has been the best funded team, has been the strongest team in results-wise in StarCraft 2, League of Legends. And Dark had the talent. He was picked up early on by Slayer's Boxer to go into Slayers, then moved into the best team when the Kespa era emerged and Pro League moved away from StarCraft 1 into StarCraft 2. And a lot of people actually give a lot of the credit of his success to his practice partners, but you could see that even without the team, his skill remains, his practice regimen has definitely not faltered in any way. He's still a top-tier player here. He's not as high up in the standings as he would potentially like to be, but he's done he did a really good job in the GSL last season, and his performance overseas is incredible too. So just to give you a backstory. Looks to be going for a roach opening here, though.
Ooh, wants to get aggressive, and this is part of the way that he used to win in the past up against Maru. Just getting into his head a little bit. Maru sometimes getting a bit greedy in the matchup. He always likes to start this Reaper expand opening as well. The roaches can get over there pretty fast, and obviously can destroy this Reaper in a head-on fight. And, I mean, Daybreak's a pretty big map. So, not sure if this map was the one to do it on, but all the 2-player maps are decently big. No overgrowth for this, so maybe he just wants to take a quick early win.
I think Maru just scouts this no matter what, too, right? Like, he only made 2 lings. He sent them across the map. The Queen comes out here. He's not going to check. He's not going to go all the way in. When there's only 1 Queen, you could definitely push the boundaries with that. Oh my god, these 2 lings are going to kill the Marine, too.
That poor Marine. Okay,
good
it
micro.
does live.
I don't know how many hit points it has left. Oh, 5.
5,
so
yeah.
1 more swipe would have killed it. Reaper spots the roaches now. Is it too late? That's the question. The reactor canceled. Oh no, okay, just started second when he went 2 racks. The reactor finished. It did disappear off the production tab at that exact moment, but for finishing reasons. So he can make 2 Marines at a time. He can produce Marauders actually to hold this.
He's also got a bunker, a factory on the way, and probably will be Ravagers.
Yes, it's going to be Ravagers. They've been going to the concussive cells because he wants to make sure he can have the maximum amount of tools available to stop this attack. Dark is droning behind this because he knows that this is not going to be a 1-2 punch the game ends. It's going to be a longer, extended fight where he needs to transition into a better economy or continue to produce roaches to finish the push, because what he's already built is not going to do the job. The Overlord dying would be tragic. He absolutely needs that to get the high ground vision. We saw this push already once this tournament, actually last week. And if you lose the Overlord, you lose the vision, and the push ends immediately. Still droning up heavily. 7 more. So not even continuing to produce Ravagers back behind this.
Yeah. It's just a tempo play. You know, you get a bit of damage done, you force bunkers, you force units that perhaps Maru wouldn't want to make, and you also deny a ton of mining at the natural. And behind it, you get up your economy. It's obviously not stellar for Dark with the rush that he did do, but it's going to have him hold up in his base for quite a while. First tank comes out. It's going to be really useful here against the Ravagers.
Dark's going to take a 3rd. Making a lot of Overlords right now, by the way. He's really overmade them, actually. 55 of 92. It's not going to be the end of the world or anything like that, but would have rather had drones earlier on to actually have more mining. In StarCraft 2, people don't really fully explain, I feel. Nice snipe here. How important it is to have workers early. If you could have any choice, if you were against a player that didn't make attacking units, you would always want to make workers first, to mine faster, to then build more things, because the income grows exponentially. So, I mean, he could have had like 3 more drones than he does now instead of the Overlords, but he won't have to make the Overlords later. But it's not actually equivalent. Well, he has the Overlords later, so same money, right? Not exactly.
Yeah, it would be interesting if in StarCraft, if you kill an enemy building, you get some resources from it, you know? Because as far as it stands in StarCraft, the only way to reinvest your money directly is to make more workers. Like your workers get money, which make more workers, which get you more money. But then your units are really just there to help you win the game. You know, you're not actually getting more resources. I mean, technically you're denying your opponent resources, which gets you ahead in resources, but a different kind of...
What if they...
We could probably write essays on this topic.
Sure, what if they actually add that in StarCraft 3? I can imagine the Team Liquid threads now. First they made multiple building selection, and then they made the units... So like eventually it just gets patched, only you get money if you kill a probe that's carrying minerals.
Takes away the entirety of the cool idea.
Okay, well this push is going to be very difficult to stop. Stim, 2 medevacs here. Good micro from Dark, actually, though. Roaches can deal with a small amount of Marines if they target, actually, because the funny thing is Roaches do damage so slowly that medevacs will out-heal it. Not completely, but buy the Marines a lot of time to do their very quick attack speed attack. Plus 1 is going to make this attack a lot more deadly, and it's almost finished. Combat shields will be even better, especially against a Roach composition like this one, to outlast the Roaches, survive another Roach shot.
He gets those tanks in position, crucially, and he kind of drew the units into the natural with that first attack. So here we go, Dark, he has to hold this off. The Lings coming forward, tanking very nicely. The Corrosive Biles hit the tank.
Yeah, very good bios there, but the bio is just too much here. Now with 3 medevacs as well, he just out-heals the Roach DPS. Super low attack speed. And Maru will take game number 1. It seems here, right? I mean, this game is pretty over.
He's getting so much damage done. He wins that very crucial fight. Now the drone's fighting, what you never want to see.
Yeah, the Lings here all cleaned up now. That +1 doing a number, and those Marines are about to get shields.
All that reinvestment just going into their death. 7 drones going down combat shields. Going to make any further pushes a lot better.
He survives, though. I actually called that game way too early, but he survives. He had a lot of larvae, banked up so the Marines, the Zerglings came out. He's now got a Baneling Nest, Baneling Speed, and Maru is forced to, land and use this 3rd base. The game goes on.
Yeah, you could see that he went for the 3rd base and was planning on getting a stronger economy first. This was just a pressure play. He still takes the better end of that trade pretty massively.
Yeah, I mean, he's very, very ahead. Make no mistake, especially in terms of tech. Like,
he could have made extra barracks, invested differently, and made more units to go attack, obviously, but he didn't do that. Instead, he wanted a stronger economy. He's got a follow-up push here. The Banelings coming forward, they only hit the tank, so he successfully takes out the tank, but not
this
the
is
Marines.
huge, actually. The base under attack over here. Maru's just trying to push his way forward, takes out another queen, so less larva here. But this is actually nice, forcing the SCVs off the line. Because remember, the reason, let's talk about why Maru's massively ahead. He's on basically dead even workers. He's got a third base up. He has mules. He has upgraded bio. Dark is catching up in that regard, though he had the early +1 for Lings. Now he's going to have the 1-1 coming up, so he's catching up. But the bio is in even upgrades. He has a large amount of bio. And he has this creep denied for the most part over at the third base. There's not a massive amount of creep. Dark's building that up now. He lost a lot of queens, so he lost larva. And he has this composition that he's somehow making work through the mid-game with these Ravagers. He's going to switch into Infestors, so we're going to see that style that we saw from Dark earlier this season with the Infestor Ravager. And it's going to force Maru to make more siege tanks, which he's also lost. You never want to look at a game and see the Zerg player is down an army supply. That's always the sign that like the Terran could kill the Zerg at any moment. But Dark is holding on.
It's holding on, and crucially, I think it has partially, part of it is to do with the map, right? Maru had to go all the way across to the natural first and then attack the third. We got a big doom drop coming into the main, and there's like a mini horseshoe over here.
Yeah, you know what?
Maru's kind of Dark's kind of hold himself into.
The Infestors don't have enough energy yet for a fungal, doesn't look like. But the Baneling hits here are really good. Maru actually commits with all of his units here, dropping out. The Bios now going to connect. Here's the fungal growths. And Maru gets fungled again. The chain. He's going to lose these medevacs. So, ooh. Everything I say just happens the opposite way right afterwards.
Boosts out of there, gets away. But now we got a hive and an Ultralisk Cavern on the way.
Wolf does not receive $1 million in his bank account as well.
If only it were that easy, Wolf.
Ravagers, Ultralisk Cavern. Maru's putting on the heavy pressure here, but he needs to make sure he doesn't lose another group of units again, or he's never going to hold this fourth base if he loses his army once more. If it gets crushed again, he has a massive amount of medevacs too, which bloats his army size. If you're looking at the army tab, it looks like he's got a huge army. He's got way more than Dark, but a lot of that is in medevacs, so can't out-heal the DPS if you're fungled, and everything comes smashing in. You have the burst damage of the Banelings, the corrosive biles. The fungal itself does a decent amount of damage. Dark is hanging in here. It's crazy to think of a game where a Terran player is ahead in supply, but is having so much trouble against the tech of the Zerg. And now he's going into Vipers for Blinding Cloud. Perhaps some, we'll see some medevac reductions too, potentially, but it's really going to be the Blinding Cloud.
He's identified that Maru is going into mainly just, tanks as the AoE. So if you can Blinding Cloud all the tanks and then just engage.
And then bile them too.
Yeah, you bile them
so well.
You have fungals, you have ultras to tank. There's a lot of different things the Zerg can have, and the Blinding Clouds might just be one step to taking on the Terran army straight on.
Well, I mean, let's see if Maru can fight against this composition, because he has the larger army. Make no mistake, just dealing with all of these tech units for Dark, that's going to be the issue. And it's kind of always been the case that Terran kind of deals with bio with a few siege tank supports as its backbone, even in StarCraft 1. But now the high tech of the Zerg, see if he can bring it. He's actually going to abduct the siege tank here. Going to take this engagement, mostly on creep. Blinding Cloud here as well. Maru still has a large amount of army coming behind this, though. And this army over here, this is part of his large army, is going to hit the third base.
Yeah, it's really that bio that's misplaced right now, but getting a nice bit of damage. There's Liberator, still no answer. And Maru actually takes out this third base. Dark currently only on 3 bases. You can see he packs up and leaves right away. He knows he's ahead of base. If he can just defend the planetary, he's going to be in a really nice spot.
Yeah, because it's tough for the Zerg to ever attack off creep, even with Ultralisk against a planetary like this. Maru's kind of in a situation where he just kind of hunkers down. The fight directly, because those units were missing, was won by Dark, but I guess you could argue that the overall big picture was won by Maru because those units were in the proper place, not to fight, but to kill a base. Not much that Maru could do to deny the bases being retaken, but he actually finds a window to get drones here at the natural. Several are going to go down.
Oh, no pull here from Dark. Very, very late. 7 in total, and he just gets out. That was only, what, 4 Marines? That's a pretty crazy amount of damage.
Look at this setup. He's got so many Liberators. Maru's at the front to try to knock this Ultralisk out of the fight. Going to go down here. Look at all the Liberators set up, too. Another zone being placed. This is a tough engagement for Dark. Gets a decent fungal, but I don't know if this is going to be enough. This is off creep with mostly banelings. This may be the beginning of the end for Dark. Ever since that last fight that Maru took so well, I suppose that was really the beginning of the end, but it's been Dark trying to claw his way back into this game.
Yeah, I mean,
nicely placed bio actually connects to the Liberator.
Yeah. You were talking about the tech of Dark. It was really, really fantastic, but if you have no economy to back it up, you lose your bases. How are you going to make those ultras, those very expensive ultras?
Yeah.
And he has some, but not much more to back it up. Maru taking some silly fights here as he tries to force this game to end, but definitely in still the lead here, big time. Dark, though, trying to still get aggressive and snipe Liberator by Liberator.
He still has the tech advantage. He's trying to use this for a fight. Every rule that you would expect to see in this matchup in terms of how it's played is the Terran's ahead in upgrades. The Terran has the same amount of bases as the Zerg. In best case scenario, usually less bases than the Zerg. Terran usually has less workers than the Zerg. And the Zerg is just struggling to get the tech. In this game, Dark has the tech first, is actually down on bases, but is still winning fights, down on workers, and up on upgrades. He's got the 3-3, so going to see a snipe on the spawning pool here. As Maru has the more mobile army, Dark doesn't have any way to deal with the Medivacs right now. Ooh.
Oh, that split keeps that one very weak Medivac alive.
This Liberator over here as well, the lack of anti-air, an issue for Dark. He loses 6 more workers. That's not the end of it. As he gets the natural now, we're going to see the corrosive vials eventually clean that up. It's just 1 more Harvester. Coming back in now that the Parasitic Bomb is worn off. Just a lot of bio here. He's just trying to rip Dark apart little by little with this. And he's got 3-3 finishing up now. Just hitting his production cycle zone. He's a 5th CC. It's crazy how much money Maru's actually invested into economy this game.
Yeah. I like that I love this map, especially for this matchup, because generally you do get into these pretty late game oriented styles where you go 5 base versus 5 base. The Terran is desperately trying to pull the Zerg apart, dropping in multiple locations. Maru really multitasking out of his mind, trying to be a mini TY here, and doing quite well. But Dark, he's hanging on. He's getting that 5th base now. Has a stronger economy than ever, just really lacking on the drones. Just has a large standing army as it stands.
Okay, look at this. He's got so many Liberators. There's not enough anti-air here. Even if he abducts, what's he abducting into? Oh, this Ultra gets caught as well. Parasitic Bomb's coming off here. And it's actually going to get a nice hit on this Liberator. Corrosive Vial's coming in, but Dark is just getting whittled down now. Again, there's just not enough anti-air. This base could be forfeit.
Yeah, you can see the fantastic trades that Maru is taking, and really no bank here for Dark to remake those Ultras. He's making 3 more. Doesn't really have much else. He loses his 5th base. These Liberators fly over spores. Might not even matter.
Well, I mean, Dark survives, man. This is kind of a crazy game we're watching. The Ultras are just so difficult to kill. The Liberator's now in position here. He's like, I don't have anti-air, so I guess I'll just literally walk spores underneath your Liberators. They can't shoot those. It'd be crazy if Liberators could actually kill spores. Well, the Medivac drop's coming in again. I feel like we've seen this quite a few times. The Vipers have been a really good defensive tool this game to Parasitic Bomb the Medivacs, keep them out of the fight, or the Liberators as well. You know, that's kind of his main source of anti-air. So many Ultras. So actually whittling them down once again.
Yeah, not enough stuff here for Dark to actually fight against this. That's 2 Ultras that went down there. Just got to spread. Nice.
We're going to try to get the maximum value of these units. Maru is just kind of rallying units in the middle of the map. Having these big drops. He's like, okay, made a bunch more Medivacs and Marines. Going to drop them in the main base again. Medivacs, Marines, Marauders.
I like that he's adding in some Widow Mines to deal with the Banelings and even the Ultras.
I think this game gets decided by Maru if Dark ends up losing his entire Ultra list for us. He has 7 of those, and that's really what's keeping him in the game. He has all these expensive high-tech units, but no money. So if he loses those high-tech units and he can't replace them, the game ends at that moment. He needs to repair this. He does have a big repair. Liberator set up here as well. Dark really wants this, actually.
Yeah,
I think he is going to get it.
He needs to keep that planetary alive right now. It's a very strong army that should just stim in and take that out. He actually kills the Hive. This planetary is still alive with the repair.
He didn't get enough SCVs there. That's going to be the end of those Ultras. Now from 7-2, GG. Exactly as I said, as soon as he runs out of the Ultras, the game ends. I may have called that game too early, but Maru was able to take that lead and through economy and constant aggression with Medivacs win the game instead of just swinging the hammer to end it immediately.
Yeah.
That was a cool, different take on the matchup, though, for Dark. Vipers, Mass Ultras on a low economy, but if they never die and they slowly regen health, it's pretty cost efficient. The Maru just had an endless supply of units regardless. It was high-tech units at high cost without being replaced versus an endless supply of low-cost, high-efficiency units in the bio from Maru. And let's not forget the game really started with a failed Ravager push from Dark, which gave Maru the lead for that push.
Yeah. It's a very low economy game from Dark all across the entirety of it. Seems like Maru has to take a little break. So just stick with us, guys, as we just prepare to get into this next game. It is going to be on Abyssal Reef for game number 2. So Maru able to take that first one. We were expecting Dark to take it. I know you're almost falling into the void here.
There's a hole in the middle of the desk. That's
yes.
what Legacy of the Void's all about, actually. That's the void right there. That's what Zeratul always on about.
Yeah.
That's the hole in the caster desk.
You're beginning to learn the wonders of the void as you're sitting on that side now.
And my tie, I actually, you guys know it's top secret. I don't know how to tie a tie and make people tie it for me, but today it's a little bit off. It's a little bit too long, so I'm just all over the place here. Gotta survive the rest of this castle as I'm falling apart, falling to pieces.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
It could be at the most 2 games, at the least 1.
Well, I mean, I'm okay with 2 more games if they're going to be as cool as that last one.
Yeah, I think Dark is going to come back into this one. I think Abyssal Reef, he comes back, plays it standard, plays it macro, because you could see that even though Maru did eventually win that game, he had the big advantage in the mid-game, and he also... Friend is being explained StarCraft.
That's
right
when
now.
That's when you tell your
We're
friend.
listening in onto the conversation.
That's how you tell your friend all the secrets. It's like, actually,
Yeah.
I'll tell you a build that beats hard counters what Maru just did.
But
it'll never work against you on the ladder if I know this one secret.
Yeah,
Zergs hate it.
Don't tell him. Don't tell him that. It's a secret. But if Maru and Dark were even going into the mid game and late game, I think Dark would take that one because Maru was just like floundering, taking out bases. His multitasking was very good, and Dark was struggling with it, but Dark very resilient in that game, not going down, continuing to remake bases, staying alive with the Ultras. But I'd like to see a more straight-up game, is what I'm trying to say.
You mean you mean from start to finish, like a game where it's on an even playing field?
Yes.
Because I want to see that, but I want to see this style from Dark again. I want to see this weird tech, this kind of funky approach to the matchup when he's not massively behind to start it off. To see how he could do with a bigger bank or more bases while also having this many Ultras and the Vipers. So we're going to go into, guys, game number 2, Abyssal Reef right now.
We are on Abyssal Reef. Game number 2, the top left. It is Maru, the blue Terran.
And staying true to his color to the bottom right in purple, it is Dark. Really cool game he just played there. He lost it, but he won my heart. Reminds me of when he started first using Corruptors in the same matchup. So innovative. So cool. So smart. I wish I were as cool as him. I'm never going to be on SKT.
Don't say that. You could be a pro gamer for Warcraft 4 for SKT's team. You never know. The return of Wolf, the pro gamer.
I'll be the king of unannounced title David Kim went to work on. If it doesn't work out, I'll be the king of unannounced title 2.
Me and you, we can make a team, man. It's actually going to be a 2v2 game. And we're going to make a team. It's going to be called Team Salmon.
That's right. And if it's a
You guys may
3v3
have heard of
game,
it.
if it's a 3v3 game, I'm gonna call Moonglade. He's gonna make a big return.
We got to get him out of that spawning pool, man. He's been swimming for too long. Get him back.
Get him back. I miss him.
That dirty salmon in the spawning pool.
I miss the Team Salmon TriCasts.
Yeah,
You
those
know-
are fun.
Oftentimes, I actually reminisce and sit in my room and watch the 2014 Pro League Finals cast that we did. It's one of my favorite casting memories.
Yeah, you and I have gotten drunk and watched that before.
We
Like,
have.
It was very, very good. We were screaming at the top of our lungs because we didn't have a proper setup.
Yeah, that was a
Spud TV
great
Games, a
finals.
very new company, but they're really pulling together. Really liking them now.
So, I feel like when you look at how this series is going to pan out, with how well Dark played, with kind of one hand tied behind his back in that last game, I feel like on a larger map like this, even though Daybreak is quite large, this map is just kind of like larger and bases are closer together, so we're going to see Dark be able to more easily take several bases. I feel like this map is going to play into his strengths quite a bit, and we are going to see a good game out of here. That was a close call. Maru might have actually let those lings in had he not been looking at the factory at that exact moment. The SCV actually has to briefly stop building the CC, but comes back. So
That poor Ling just accepted his fate, stopped running, said, okay.
fast Ling speed here from Dark, by the way. He went for a pool first and a gas before hatchery, so he actually went big on this tech. So he has really early Ling speed, but isn't looking to really do much with it except perhaps hold this third base. He's getting Overlord speed, but not for drops or anything crazy like that. It's probably just going to be Overlord speed for the Scout. That's why he's getting these two Overlords into position, as the Korean observer is showing us.
Ooh.
Banshee? Oh no, it's a Raven. I was so excited for Banshee.
Banvin. There he is, that's his name. Banvin the Raven. Coming out. And yeah, it's probably going to be used for harassment purposes.
Oh, it's a
Might
fake
make-
cloak.
Yeah. Might make two. We've seen that before. This Overlord, though, with the Overlord speed, I mean, two of these guys can just stare at that.
Yeah, he's like, well, I mean, you don't have anti-air. I'm just going to keep checking just to make sure.
It's like, are you really going for Cloak?
This is actually
Are you
so
still
funny.
really going for Cloak?
It's just like so goofy. This one Maru's like, aha, and he uses the auto turret to move the Overlord away and then actually goes click Banshees afterwards.
Oh, he's trying to get that tumor.
He's unsuccessful, sadly. It's actually a really important tumor. Raven is shown, and he is going to go into Banshees afterwards anyways. So it's not a fake after all. It's like the Raven's going to come over here to try to help clear up that creep. That was one of the things that Maru had really going for him too in that last game, is the creep was pretty weak going to the fourth base. And didn't really extend that far into the map because of the early pressure that Maru put on and continued to put on throughout the rest of the game.
First Spore coming down here at the natural as Dark begins to realize, oh, you really are going Cloak Banshee still, and I see everything. Unless he's going to stop it at the last moment.
This is so funny.
Oh, that's going to be completed.
Next thing you know is Raven's just gonna like secret missile a drone line or something, and I've seen everything. So Stim coming up here with the expansion of tech for Maru, is he's kind of, all right, I'm just gonna harass a little bit. I'm taking the third base. I'm gonna keep the pressure on while I move my economy forward. And it's starting to finally now build that normal army of the Marines. Auto turrets here are going to kill a drone, 2 drones. Some of the hit points of a Spore Crawler.
Nice.
And that's it.
Raven survives. But with the Spire coming up, that's going to be a very nice tech choice for Dark to just clear out the skies. Make sure he doesn't have to worry about any kind of annoying harass. Can also help against drops.
Yeah, and remember, stylistically, Dark is the player that makes Corruptors with Aspire more than Mutalisk in terms of dealing with Medivacs. But it's so unlike him to go for Spire Tech that it may throw Maru a little bit off guard if he doesn't scout this, which he doesn't have anything on the map since the Raven is pushed away to see this. And really only Biel right now consistently in this matchup is actually going Mutalisk versus Terran. Spore Crawl commitment earlier turns out to be a good investment. He's also got an Overseer here, and Maru is trying to force this to work. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
The auto turret, though, do a little bit more damage, so 4 kills in total.
Still got to question the Banshee choice with the Cloak. You know, like the Cloak was scouted for so long that he's going to be ready for it. You might as well have just canceled it at the last seconds if you really wanted to be tricky that much.
He's trying to, like, the most covert ops snipe on the Creep Tumor ever. He's like, all right, Cloak Banshee, the Raven for detection. Spent so much time and resources to try to kill the one Tumor, fails though, and Banshee has to go home. Okay, so we saw 1 Muta made for Dark initially, but he's now going up to 6, so probably it's going to be 7 in total. Even committing to the +1 flyer attacks upgrade for them. So they're going to be a little bit stronger.
Who knows, with the heavy commitment to the air units, then maybe he'll have more time to actually get a big ball of mutas before, you know, there's too much aggression from the bio and the Widow Mines on the ground. So going to stick with just 7 for now, but might make some more a little bit later on.
There are no missile turrets for Maru at this moment in time. He has the eBay, obviously, but he does not have a single turret in place. So this is a shock and surprise to him. Does have a few Marines that were rallied at home to push it away. And obviously the Mutalisk will get out of here, but this is the big attack. This is the moment that Dark needs to defend. Widowmine actually does not even trigger, but good splits, which may trigger many Zerg players at home. But the attack continues here as Maru will pick up and drop onto the low ground behind with no mutas here. Looks like he's just super preoccupied at home. These mutas are doing a number on his economy, forcing so much lost mining time. But he's continuing to produce barracks. He starts the 2-2. He's going to stabilize here. It's really important that Dark defended that base, though. That 4th base is so critical. That's always how this matchup goes. When, you know, on even footing, we talk about how we wanted to see this map start kind of with Dark not playing with one hand tied behind his back. And when you do see a game like that, the 4th base is always the focal point. Can the Terran kill the Zerg's 4th? That's usually the moment that decides games. And on this map, the bases are so close for the Zerg, they're so easily taken. That's why I was saying I feel like this is going to be a map that plays in the Dark's playstyle. And so far he holds on to it. He gets a decent amount of harass. He's stifled a little bit of the production of Maru. And now Maru is going to have to set back up here for another push. Probably going to wait for 2-2 to really heavily commit to that push.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, and it really shows on the map. Like, Maru even hasn't made a 4th command center right now. He's just stuck in his base. He's making a 2nd factory. I think he wants to potentially commit heavily to Widowmine production and dealing with these, you know, this Ling Bane Muta style in general. It's really going to be the key, that AoE. He's even getting Drilling Claws as I say it. So he could also commit to some really heavy harass with that. And finally, he does begin to take his 4th base. But as you said, there's just no aggression at the 4th, or whatever aggression there was. It was taken away very easily, stopped very easily. And Dark is going to have a very easily defendable 5th base. And we're going late game.
I'm seeing a rare Thor here to help deal with the Mutalisk attack. The Widow Mines are going to be very difficult to deal with because of the tech choice of Dark here. That's why you see the Widow Mines. You don't see the Widow Mines in the previous set. You see the tanks instead because of the Investor tech. And the mass bio. But against Mutalisk, this is Dark basically saying, I don't want to deal with your massive drops. I don't want to deal with that big heavy harass. I have the best anti-air, the best drop shutdown tool in the game. Not even committing to the Corruptors for fighting, just wants to have the more mobile harass force that could also shut down drops. And as a result, look at the minimap. This is a totally different game than the last game in terms of creep spread and map control, because so much of the pressure of Maru was shut down and then removed, pulled back by the Mutalisk. Dark now has full map control, near full map vision. If he gets the creep on the left side, he will be able to spot any drop coming across the map by his creep alone. Forget Overlords. So, I mean, this is a much better position, a much more stable position. He's even looking to attack Maru's base here, which is not actually being morphed into a planetary. He probably wants to do that. It's actually still a regular CC. Am I wrong? That's not a plan. Okay, now he starts. So I was what is he doing? He's got to make that into a planetary.
Scan saw this hive, so Maru kind of sees where he's at. And I feel like he just feels kind of stifled. He's like, okay, well, what do I do now? I can't move across the map. There's too much creep. Zerg has too much creep spread, too much map control. He's maxed out. Look at the bank right now of Dark. 4,000, 2,000 already at 11 minutes into the game and a 6th base coming up. All the upgrades.
Yeah, I think this is actually going to be a Broodlord game, potentially, even from Dark. Look at the map control he has. This is a game where you just kind of sit back and take the map for yours, and you have the ability to even tech switch to Ultralisk with the amount of money he has. He may go both Ultras and the Greater Spire. Does not want to really commit to this engage because a lot of his army is in those cheap Zerglings. That's part of the reason why he has such a large gas bank. There's a lot of Widow Mines, so the thing is, like you said, he forces Maru to field trap, and he doesn't have to engage in this. Widow Mines for Maru is slowly pushing them forward, but so much has already been gained from Dark. And he's just sitting here building a bank. Doesn't need to fight. There's no reason. Well, the first split was really impressive. The second one, not as much. But he just has enough money to rebuild the Banelings. He's not concerned.
Crazy amount of Banelings right now. 50 in total.
Yeah, it's going to be an Ultralisk Cavern first. Adrenal Glands, 3-3. The +1 flyer armor is coming up right now, the Carapace. So he may, once that's finished, commit to the Greater Spire. He can't actually morph it right now, as it's actually being tied up right now with the upgrade. Oh, got one tumor. It's like the first tumor now to get this game. Feels like it.
The first step
to a larger world. A larger world filled with Zerg.
Yeah, this is what it feels like when I play against Zerg.
Yeah.
Just like don't attack, and then I move out. I'm like, oh, he's got 6 bases, and the entire map is filled with creep. So you can see Dark at the same time, even though he has all of this, he hasn't reached that super late game tech yet. No ultras, no anything. He's just on this mid game kind of composition. So he can't exactly kill the Terran. That's like the opposite line of thought, where it's like, okay, as the Terran, you don't necessarily have to kill him. You missed your opportunity for aggression in the mid game and the early game, so maybe you just sit back and make planetaries and get this gigantic death ball, and then we'll have to see if Dark can deal with that.
I'm really curious to see if we're going to see tech labs or reactors on these starports, because, hold that thought, this is not a good engage for Dark. I feel like Maru has realized where this game is going, and he set up the perfect transition to deal with both the Ultras and Broodlords with all those starports. This was not a good engage here for Dark, by the way, but he wanted to trade some of his army so he could start Ultras. But anyway, Fusion Core is coming up. Ooh, this Splitzer is so good here for Maru, and he's got these Thors placed. Maru may have a small window of time before Ultras come out, or the rest of these Banelings come out and do some serious damage.
You can at least snipe this base, but I think he's got to move back. Look at all the Banelings here. He's going to pick up, try to get back with his tail between his legs, but still, pretty good trade.
Yeah, look at all these Banelings hitting Marauders. He's actually dropping the Marauders out intentionally to trade against Banelings, which is exactly what he wants. He's going to go into 7 Liberators as he realizes it's Ultras, not Broodlords. So he made a few tech labs on those starports. It's going to go into Advanced Ballistics. He has the Fusion Core. He can transition into even BCs later on, but it's mostly just for the Advanced Ballistics upgrade, which is the range upgrade for the Liberators, and is getting ship weapons +2, the plating. This is going to be a transition into Error. It's going to kind of be like this funky game where it's kind of semi-mech for Maru as he transitions into this massive Error army, because we're going Supreme super late game. We don't normally see games like this in this matchup right now in the meta, so excited to see how this one pans out. It's going to be another big attack here from Dark off creep.
Oh, all that bio in the back. The Bane's trying to hit the chunk of it. They do.
It's mostly Marauders, though. And this planetary will get taken out. Baneling's actually helping commit. He's going to go for the second one here. This is just a nice positional fortress, if you will, for Maru right now. A lot of mutas get picked off there. Could even pick off the rest of them. Dark has a large bank, but it's getting smaller, you know? Like, he can't actually keep just crashing in with no returns.
At the same time, though, I think it's still a pretty good trade for Dark. You know, he takes out one of the planetaries. This CC is not mining for a long time. And he kept a decent amount of the Ultras alive. Has 2.
Yeah, you know, I say no returns, but he did get a CC, and he got, more important than anything else, all those SCVs.
Yeah, I
35
mean,
left
no real
here for
bank for Maru, and I think the follow-up attack could just do it here for Dark.
Yeah, he's got the Corruptors now to help deal with these Liberators. A few Vikings coming out here, they're not going to be helpful at all. He's just trying to kite back to this planetary, this defensive fortress he's got here. This is just so much damage, so I think this is what breaks the back of Maru, and it does. Dark takes the win here, GG. We are going to a game 3. It was in the map that played into Dark's style, which led him to this supreme late game. He had full creep spread control. Maru was setting up for the transition there into that air attack. He had the Liberators out, but the attack there really hit him super hard and traded really well. And it felt like eventually Maru was just like, just crash your Banelings into my Marauders. Stopped splitting, took a few bad engages, and yes, Banelings are weak against Marauders, but he lost too much in the end to deal with the Ultras, you know?
The Thors were a really interesting tech for Maru, right? I mean, they are good against the Mutas, and pretty much only the Mutas. They're like a Baneling soak, basically. But if he had a lot more Widow Mines instead and really spread them out and slow pushed, perhaps, maybe he takes that one. But again, what we were talking about in the mid-game, I feel, is what really won Dark the game. He just had a gigantic bank, total map control for way too long, too many bases for way too long, and he just had unlimited resources.
Okay, guys, it's time, though, for the final map of the evening. Newkirk Precinct, Maru versus Dark. Our last matchup, this TBZ. Let's go into it right now.
Here we go. Game number 3. Down the bottom left, the blue Terran from the generic Green Wings. It is Maru.
And his opponent, the bottom right in purple, it is Dark. So this map, in terms of the fourth base, let's talk about it real quick. The third base that you're going to take as the Zerg is going to be the one to the top left of your main. The fourth is awkward. Probably going to be around the 2 o'clock expansion, but that's really far away, so creep spread is important. Maru's pressure in the early game to delay that creep or deny it completely is going to be, I feel like, what sets up the tone for the mid game, as Dark will be really struggling to hold on to that fourth base or take it at all if his creep gets eliminated early. We're actually going to see the ever elusive CC first here out of Maru. He wants to bring this game late. He wants to have the macro lead, but this does give Dark some extra flexibility in terms of his creep spread with the late pressure that's going to come out as a result. The tech of Maru would just be slightly delayed by this this tactic.
Look at the build here from Dark, too. He goes gas pool again, which means he will have the early speed. If you remember, in game number 2, when that speed hit, Dark only had 2 Zerglings, and they kind of got cleaned up, and Maru already had like 2 Hellions on the map with 2 more on the way. So maybe if Dark can identify this with that first Overlord, maybe he decides to get a bit more aggressive. It's not the longest map in the world in terms of rush distance.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It's a map where you can hit some crisp timings. Let's see how we respond to this. Obviously, you know, even by error and slow Overlord speeding, scouting. Wow, that sentence just came out of my mouth. With slow Overlord speed scouting, it takes a long time. Not until there's speed Overlords, at least, or speed Overseers. But anyway, the scout is going to take a long time. It's just going to commit to the 2 lings for now. The Overlord's going to pop out here in a moment, and then that's when he's really going to have the available supply to make the decision as to how much he commits to this. The Overlord's going to see this actually right at this critical moment. If he makes drones before he sees this, he's definitely not going to be able to have the opportunity to make this happen. 2 drones. Okay, sees the timing of this factory now. Knows exactly what's up. Let's see what he does in response. He has a bunch of lava about to pop out from the inject. And then once that happens, so we're going to see if he polars on the harass lings or if he goes into drones. Drones is the way.
Yeah, might just do what he did in game 2 too, where he's not going up against the CC first, but he goes for the speed, and then he just takes a faster third base instead.
It's it's going to be mech, or at least a double reactor Hellion, something like that, something funky. I'm really interested to see how Dark approaches dealing with mech, because Dark was one of the better players in dealing with mech back in the mech era of Heart of the Swarm, just like Terraform in Pro League.
Oh God, please no.
Life's run through Star League as well, where he ended up losing to Dream in the semifinals, had him playing against a lot of mech. We don't see it all too often right now in this matchup. So just, again, curious to see how Dark responds to that, because he's a really creative Zerg.
Cyclones being made right now. That Ling is not going to get much of a scout outside of 2 Hellions. It's pretty standard. He is making that Roach Barn. which we would like to see. And it's just going to be mass Cyclone Hellion. 2 Cyclones, 2 Hellions.
Just drones coming out for Dark for now. He made the Roach Warren, so it feels like he kind of has some sort of idea of this, or was planning on going into the Roach, Ravager, and Fester style that we saw in game number 1 anyways. He got there for a different reason. He did a Ravager opening in game 1. This time it looks like it's perhaps just a more organic transition into that. Unless he's really got the plan, or he knows that mech is so common on this map, but we haven't seen it because he's seen it on the ladder. Just kind of bide our time here and see how this gets played. A few Roaches on the production tab, as he's going to use them to primarily spread his creep. You know, as I was talking about earlier, the creep spread is super important here, but because of the very passive opening of Maru into a mech play, he doesn't have any tools to deal with his creep until this first move out now. That's why these Roaches are going to be important. They're going to have to deal with this to make sure he can maintain that creep to take the 4th. He's actually going to take the tougher base to the top right as the 3rd, the one that's further away from the tower than the 4th that's closer to his base.
Oh, man. Supply depot down, and even just 6 Lings with speed can get in there, trying to turn around his army. That's not going to work. Needs to get more Hellions out here in his main. Deal with this armory is about to finish to make those Hellbats, but already lots of Roaches and Ravagers waiting at the top of that ramp.
So this is just a Cyclone Hellbat timing, as it turns out. Here's the scan to clear up this creep. The Cyclone's doing a ton of damage here, but good transfuses. No SCBs for repair. This is just a kite fest right now for Dark as he kind of kites back to stop this push and weaken it. And it looks like this is going to be held for the time being. Ravager's actually being made here to save the Roaches. Actually, the Hellions moving forward here, but again, more units coming out for Dark. He's slowing this down. The Roach here getting on top of the Cyclone, some of them very low. This will be held.
Yeah, those 2 Cyclones at the end there getting blown up.
The question is now, what's the transition for Maru? He starts at 3rd CC, but he doesn't have much to defend it, and Ling speeds out. He already has 10 Lings on the map.
+1 vehicle weapons means probably more mech.
Yep, looks like Cyclones specifically to start things off. But this 3rd base, I don't know if he's really going to be able to hold on to this. Probably should have made this on the high ground. He was really confident that he was going to make this attack do more than it did, and that there was never going to be an opportunity to counterattack from Dark.
Trying to get some economic damage done. Coming in here, getting the big lineup, has to shift that. And these 4 Hellions will in total get 6 drones. 3rd base is canceled.
Canceled and remade. Critically though, Dark did not make any drones during this time. He made only attacking units to defend. He lost those 6 workers. So he's down on workers. His 3rd base isn't saturated at all. The lead he has right now is in this army. He needs to make something happen with this. He needs to continue to pressure, but not overextend against these Cyclones. Okay, more Biles is going to knock this wall down. Just trying to scare Maru into thinking perhaps there's a big follow-up attack.
That Overlord is so key for the vision. He keeps it alive with 11 health.
He's not going to be able to come over with it anytime soon, though. And, okay, has the Overseer. That's going to be more important. Looks like some SCVs get a little bit too excited there. This is a great scan. That just lets him know, okay, how all-in is Dark here? How much has he really committed to this? And he sees the answer is very highly. Very few drones at the 3rd base. Maru's still ahead of workers.
It's going to kill the Overseer. Very, very nicely done. It's just a small thing that will immensely help against that heavy Ravager army of Dark.
He gets another one here. Dropping some more Biles, forcing this barracks to lift. As this CC is not even made into an orbital. Maru is really taxed on his multitasking right now to make sure he survives this.
3 more factories. He can support that on 3 base, but not on 2.
I think he's pretty confident he's eventually going to push this back.
Yeah.
Obviously, he can't really be making siege tanks against this because the Biles will just connect with the stationary unit, so he has to kind of back off and dodge the Biles. Every time he dodges back, though, Dark gains some ground. And back at home, he is droning. You know, now he's up to 62 drones. Doesn't have to commit here. Because this is terrifying Maru into thinking that this is going to be kind of an all-in, but it's not. And he's got to transition back at home. He starts a +1 ranged attack upgrade. 5 Overlords, and he leaves. Now 13 workers up as Maru takes the 3rd base. The Overseer will scout this. And Maru has the +1 attack, and he has +1 armor now on the way. Dark only having the Carapace upgrade on his side of things.
Just what a wonky
pure
game.
Cyclone.
These couple of games we've had in this series have started off very strangely. Dark in game 1 and Maru with a weird build here in game 3. Trying to use those fast mech units to drive across the map and hit a timing. But now we're going 4 base versus 3. Or actually, there's no 4th base just yet for Dark. It is building. And still just Hellbat Cyclone is the build tier for Maru. And interesting thing about this is that both of these units can be reactored out from the reactories, as Rabid likes to call them. But that means that you could just produce them very, very fast. So even if, you think about Cyclone Hellion by itself, or Hellbat rather in this case, it doesn't seem all that strong, but you can reproduce them very, very fast.
Yeah, it's like it's more like Brood War mech. It's like making vultures or something like that. You just send them out super fast. It's not the slow building tanks, Thors that we normally see. I don't even know if I want to call this mech or I want to call this Cyclone Hellbat.
I think it's Cyclone Hellbat. But also, by the way, the +1 attack is super key for the Cyclones. They do damage so fast.
Yeah, they have such a quick attack speed.
Yeah. So that's the other thing about it. They can be easily upgraded. Same
with the armor, too, for Dark. The fact that he has the carapace is really helpful here. I feel like the army of Maru is better if he just doesn't get hit by Biles. It's all about the control. If he's not biled, then his army wins. As you can see here, it's already happening. He's not really being hit by any of the Biles, but a lot more roaches coming out now for Dark as he pushes this back. He will hold this.
Yeah, it's going to be held. The roaches in the front tanking so well for the Ravagers in the back, doing that damage.
Such a large defender's advantage, too, with everything coming out. Maru can't kill enough.
Also, the creep really helped him micro against half the army and just fight half at a time.
I really want to go back and watch this fight again with the hit point bars on, because I was just looking at my screen and not yours.
I was watching with the hit point bars on that.
How many Biles actually hit there? Was it a lot, or was it just the...
there were a decent amount, but he was trying to micro against it, but it didn't really work out. That's going to be it, though. GG. Dark cakes the game.
Well, as it turns out, Cyclone Hellbat is not a thing.
It's not a thing. Maru, join us in 2 years when maybe it is.
I mean, I can understand why he didn't want to make the siege tanks with this composition, because obviously siege tanks would be crushed by the Ravagers with the corrosive bile. But he went Cyclone instead. He obviously had a lot of them. They have a high attack speed. The carapace upgrades there for the roaches that are already armored by default. Perhaps that's the reason why. I've just never seen this interaction before. And clearly Dark knew the answer. He has encountered this before. He went into roaches immediately on the map, expecting potentially the mech coming out. Helped defend the first push. Held onto his bases, had good economy. And let's not forget, Maru was stuck on 2 bases for a long time because of the Ravager attack there. Couldn't get the 3rd CC up as quickly as wanted to. Had to cancel it for a time. So he's kind of always playing on the back foot. Built a composition I've never seen before in StarCraft 2. And it just simply did not work. It fell flat against Dark's response. So Dark will take the series 2-1, trying to climb out of the bottom part of this round robin.
Yeah, Dark was one of these players that I thought was going to do really, really well in this tournament, and he started off kind of weak. Before this series, he was 2-3, 5-7 in games. And I was like, where's the Dark of old? Where's this guy that's going to be practicing and crushing nerds and stuff? But seems like after taking out Maru here, that's a very needed win. We'll go to 3-3. And that's going to do it for our matches tonight, guys. We're just going to summarize everything up, then eventually say goodbye, unfortunately.
For now, you and I will be back next week. So let's take a look at our results for today. Zest takes his first win over SOS 2-1. Innovation takes the win over Alive, which the series I feel like was not as long as we thought it would be, but it was still decent. And I guess I'm not going to read the rest off. Bjell, Stats, and Dark winning their series to close things out. Bjell stays in first place. Does get the win. He's now the only player with a 5-1 score. And just looking at the rest of things, I want to see where Dark ends up. He's still actually in 7th. He's tied with Alive, I believe, unless I'm misreading that. So
Innovation also secures his spot as the top Terran in this group by far.
And here are our matches for Brood War. SSL Classic, Mind will face off against Light in the TVT. Soki will face Rain in a ZVP, and then Hero will face Sock in the ZVT. And I missed the last one, but we're just flying through these. I don't know how, she's not reading them for sure.
It's in air airplane, they go really fast.
Here are the challenge matches, and of course next week's premiere. Focusing on premiere for us, Innovation versus Bjell. That should definitely be an amazing series. I think it's going to be a lot better than what we just saw with Dark and Maru, which was an interesting one to say the least, but that one I think is just going to be a much more high level. And Stats versus Alive, kind of Alive, improve over his loss that we saw him take against Hero there in the Super Tournament Finals. That is what we're going to find out.
Yeah, so there you have it, guys. Thanks to all the people who came down today and watched the matches. Very much appreciated. All those funds for the tickets will go towards the players.
Especially Evan, Ricci, Travis, and Trahan. You guys are the best.
Shout out to them. Very, very cool. But that's pretty much going to do it for us today, guys. It was another great day of Premier. Some pretty sick mirror matchups. Today was like the mirror matchup day. We had 4 of them. Out of the 8 of the 10 players were playing mirror matchups.
Well, thank you as well, Valdez, for carrying me through that cast. I've been a little bit sick today and yesterday, but you helped me get through that, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, make sure you guys are watching GSL 2 Wednesday and Saturday. Make sure you check the times there for your region, and that you're showing up on time. The Saturday game should be easier to catch for you guys in NA.
Yep, Dark and Maru very likely to meet in their GSL group on Wednesday, so that's going to be an exciting thing to watch. If you enjoyed that last TVZ, you might get to see it again on Wednesday. That'll do it for us, guys, though. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week.